All right. Hi, everyone. It's Star Trek Sunday.
Yay!
We're here. We made it. Hey, Bad Panda Bear. Um, we have some great episodes to
Ooh.
discuss. Oh, yes.
Do we ever?
We are now in the throes of Deep Space Nine, and it is brilliant, and we love it.
We do. We do.
It's
We're mad
awesome.
about some things, but
Which we are going to discuss.
we'll get there. We'll
I
get
can't
there.
wait. I'm so excited. Hey, Christoph, Andrew, Mohammed,
Hi,
welcome.
Mohammed.
Happy Sunday. Okay, so this week we're going to be talking about the episodes. Oh, hi, Laura. Welcome. We're going to be talking about the end of season 2. So it's going to be the crossover, the Collaborator, Tribunal, the Gem Hedar, and then the beginning of season 3, which is the Search Part 1 and 2. So we'll discuss both parts of that. And then next week we're going to talk about the House of Quark, Equilibrium, Second Skin, the Abandoned, Civil Defense, and Meridian. And schedule permitting, we may try to do another watch party. So we'll put a vote up at the end of our hour here and see if anyone wants to vote for what we should watch live. Frankly, I'm thinking Second Skin or Civil Defense, but I promise I won't skew the vote.
I have no idea, so.
Okay, so let's dive right in, shall we?
Let's do it.
All right. So the first episode that we're going to discuss is also hi Emily, yeah, hi to Roy. The first episode is crossover, so this is the Mirror Universe episode. This is the first, still blows my mind. This is the first Mirror Universe in airing order that we had since the original series, which is crazy. Like TNG didn't have any, Voyager hasn't, starting air around this time, but they didn't have any. It's bonkers. It's crazy. So
I think it's weird too because I hear that concept, like I've heard it mentioned before, and I was like, that sounds super cool, and like, you know, just the idea of a mirror universe, like my brain like goes, ooh, that sounds fun. And so the fact that they haven't done anymore like is crazy.
yeah.
I was so excited when this episode started, and because apparently there's mirror universe in Discovery, but I have to admit I completely don't remember that part of it. Like maybe because I didn't make the connections, I don't know, but like I do not remember that I saw a mirror universe in Discovery. So when this started, I was like, yay, it's my first mirror universe episode.
Okay. Which it might be because, so for the context for people who are watching this for the first time, you've seen Discovery, you've seen TNG, you've seen Voyager, and Picard.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Yeah.
So I think with Discovery, the mirror universe in that may have stuck out more if you had seen more of like the original series mirror universe or these Deep Space Nine mirror universes where they're talking about the Terrans and they talk about all of that because not to derail the conversation, but do you remember Captain Lorca?
Yeah.
And that halfway through the season they end up in an alternate universe?
Well,
where they all pretend to be evil. That's the mirror universe. That whole plot is the mirror universe.
Well, okay, so then I guess maybe it was that it was not labeled.
Yes.
Mirror universe, like they don't say the words mirror universe.
That's what I'm wondering. Yeah,
like,
that's.
And I brought it up a couple times in Voyager. It's like, ooh, is this like the mirror universe? And they're like, no, this is just an alternate dimension. And oh no, this is just another timeline. No, this is mirror universe is not like a whole thing. So,
right, fair enough. Yeah.
So when I saw this and they were all like dressed in like evil clothes and stuff, I was like, yay!
Mirror universe, good. Okay, yeah. And Tumor Boy pointed out that I think and this is what I meant. Like, if you hadn't seen the Deep Space Nine ones and you hadn't seen the original series, really the key in Discovery, that you're right. Like, they never really say this is the mirror universe from this timeline. they just say the Terrans. Like Terran is kind of the key word for like the evil Earth people of the Mirror Universe, and so
Okay.
we got that in this episode of Deep Space Nine, but they also reference that in Discovery. So I think that's probably where that disconnect happened. So,
Right, probably.
but I'm glad you're excited that you're seeing the Mirror Universe as it was like intended to be. Like, this is the Mirror Universe from Kirk's era, and
Right.
yeah,
Exactly. Yeah.
yay.
And it was so fun. I love seeing them, just act as different versions of themselves. Just, I love these kinds of episodes.
Good. I'm so glad. And it is, so we have Kira and Bashir are the ones that get dumped into our mirror universe. And of course it kicks things off right away where they see Kira and they're just like, what? And then take you to meet her. And she's the leader of the evil mirror universe. And it's fun to see all of our now beloved characters just behaving wildly differently.
Wildly different. Yeah. Yeah. I loved like sexy Kira's space outfit.
Valid.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with liking sexy Kira's space outfit. I think my favorite, to the surprise of literally no one, is Garrick. Because, and I'll make this argument, he's not that different.
Right, exactly. I almost thought like, ooh, is he like, does he know is he a duplicate that knows that he's also on Deep Space Nine? Like, he seemed to be kind of, yeah, you're right. He was not that different.
Garrick's personality can transcend both normal universe and mirror universe, and
Precisely.
I kind of love that.
He's just Garrick.
He's just Garrick, and
Garrick.
I think that's fabulous. Exactly. Great character is still going to be great. That's it. Yeah. Absolutely true. I found, so the characters that we saw that weren't necessarily major shifts, but we still got to see them in different situations with a different world that has shaped their view. I think of Smiley O'Brien is probably one of those, that he's just wants to do the job. Like, he doesn't want to deal with that.
Right. But then I love the fact that it like he evolves into who O'Brien could be, because he's like, there's this other me that's like good at stuff.
I know. And he's like, why can't I be there? Like, can I come with you? And they're like, that will break everything. That's not okay.
That's not a thing.
Yeah. And I think, Emily makes a good point, too, that we know what happens in the Star Trek timeline we all know and love. It's interesting. It's almost like an alternate history when you have some of these characters where they choose to take them is more that it's like nature versus nurture. It's like Smiley O'Brien is much more a nurture standpoint than a nature one. So it's interesting.
Totally. Yeah, that's a really good way to put it. And that's definitely how it appeared to me. And I like at the end, so Sisko, like, and O'Brien are going to work together to, like, rebuild the station, I guess.
Yeah.
And I loved that.
And that's the funny thing too, is I love the way that Sisko is characterized here, where he's like, he is a complete 180 from the Sisko that we know and love, but it kind of works. And it Definitely. Is the hokey mustache twirling Trek.
Right. And that's what I was really excited to see. Like, that's for some reason this like thing, this something got in my brain of like, ooh, mirror universe, like mustache twirling anti-hero or anti-character, opposite characters.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, Mohammed, I think definitely the smiley was because that dude had no sense of humor. So yeah, it's so funny.
And not much to smile about.
Yeah, exactly. So, oh, it's so funny. It's crazy. Yeah. It is pretty amazing that people manage to actually have relationships in the mirror universe. It's pretty impressive.
And so the other thing is, did they say that Kirk met Spock in the mirror universe?
Well, so they met the mirror version of Spock. Like that, okay. Yeah. So the famous sort of sign of an alternate evil universe, the mirror universe, which Star Trek kicked off. I mean, so the episode. So here's the Star Trek fun facts that I think probably a lot of people in the chat know, but they never actually call it the Mirror Universe until maybe Discovery, maybe, but it's always because it's based on the Mirror episode of. Or at least in the original series, they never call it the Mirror Universe, but the episode is called Mirror. And they basically meet the anti-versions of themselves. And when they go there, the first thing they see, and so what they were referencing is the first scene when they go into the Mirror Universe in that episode. There's a transporter accident. Kirk gets off the transporter, and there's Spock standing there with this, goatee. And it's things are wrong.
Gotcha. Okay.
That's where it's coming from. So yeah, then of course it became the trope in our society of goatee equals evil,
Right.
So good times.
Okay, love it. All right.
I like it. Yeah, if you see a Spock with a beard, run very fast. For me, I think the Mirror Universe episodes stress me out a little bit because I don't like that cognitive shift of seeing the people that I know and love are evil. Mm-hmm. But I do appreciate it just as a fun storytelling device and an exercise for the actors as well.
Right. So. Exactly. I just find it fun to watch. Yeah, because you can tell they're just eating it up. You know, they love it.
Oh yeah,
a chance to be a departure from their normal character.
Especially, I think Dana Visitor was having the most fun with that. Her evil Kira is perfect.
Oh, so good. And I think someone mentioned the outfit's now on Wish. I'll be looking that up.
Right.
Or trying to make one myself.
Yeah, there you go. That's our next cosplay. For our next convention, we'll do Samantha as evil Kira. I love it. Awesome.
Oh, it's going to happen.
Excellent. Anything else in this episode before we move on?
I don't think so.
All right, excellent. So the next episode for this was the Collaborator, and this is where we get into some deep Bajoran politics. Deep Bajoran politics. Of course, it starts with our good friend Vedic Bareil. Mm-hmm. And I have not kept my opinions quiet on my feelings about Vedic Bareil.
Your opinions are correct.
And he it's kind of centered on him. And then this guy shows up on Deep Space Nine called Kubus Oak, who was essentially exiled because he was collaborating with the Cardassians, and he just shows up trying to be there. Okay, thanks. I'll try to sit closer. And it's clipping. Oh, I don't know if I can deal with that. Do you hear me okay, Samantha?
Mm-hmm.
All right.
I can hear you fine.
All right. I'll play with it later. But thanks for the heads up. So Vedic Bareil, so much ick factor. This guy shows up. Kubus Oak is exiled for collaborating with the Cardassians. And then Vedic Wynn basically offers them sanctuary in exchange for information about the Kendra Valley massacre that occurred on Bajor during the war that claimed the lives of 43 Bajoran rebels, including Kaiopaka's son. And then Kubus Oak claims that it was Bareil who tipped off the Cardassians. And then Vedic Wynn basically brilliantly convinces Kira to investigate Bareil. She's just it's just puppet string fabulousness. And then Kira finds out that it was him, but actually it ends up that he was covering for Kaiopaka, who sacrificed the lives of those rebels, including her own son, to save the thousands that she knew the Cardassians would burn down in search for them. So, thoughts?
Yeah. There was a lot to follow.
Yes.
In this episode, and we know this about me, and these ones I tend to have stupid questions afterwards because it's just hard to follow every detail when you're doing it, when you're watching for the first time. But man, yeah, there was a lot here. And so one of the first things that I thought was, I was going to bring this up in, I think, the O'Brien episode where they rescue the bunch of Bajoran people who were still in the camp, like I think last season, early last
Oh, yeah,
season.
yeah, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, because they picked up like Bajoran signatures or something, and
Right.
they're like, "What is this?" And but one of the first things I thought was, they couldn't there conceivably be, Bajoran, uh, dissenters or traitors or people who worked with the Cardassians, and could that be who was down there, and not necessarily, they didn't have to be prisoners of war. Like, we haven't heard of many instances where Bajorans might have worked with the Cardassians, and that seems like it would make
Yeah.
sense. And so I was kind of glad to get that side of the story.
Cool.
It kind of impressed me that the writer sort of leaned into that messiness of, yeah, this, like, there were bad people on both sides,
Yeah.
and good people on both sides. Like, so I just kind of appreciated that it made it even more multifaceted, this whole issue.
Right.
And then, of course, the political manipulation is just.
Yeah.
So I watched this episode and the next episode right after the debate.
Oh,
Not
Lord.
a good idea.
No, no, thank you. No, thank you. Wow, that's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
So that's one of those burn society down. All species are evil. Everything sucks. People are the worst.
Yep.
Got it.
Yep.
Yeah, I do think it is interesting in the way that they set it up. The and I think Dave made the really good point that this is one of those few instances where actually Vedic Wind's selfishness and aspirations combine with trying to do the right thing. She's like, you've got to figure out who actually turned them over. And but in a beautifully manipulative way. I mean,
yeah, that's a really good comment. Like, I kind of had the same feeling that she was not quite as evil in this episode. Definitely manipulative, like 100%, but she had her reasons here more so than, well, I mean, her primary motivation was still power.
yeah.
But yeah, she there was a sense of, we do need to figure out who this was, and regardless of how we get there, which still puts her firmly on the bad manipulative side, but she got there.
Yeah, she did. And oh, Tumor Boy, I have so many. When we finish Deep Space Nine, I swear we are gonna devote an entire Star Trek brunch to breaking down Wynn's personality and motivations, because I have so many opinions about this, and this is one of those things that I've ended up in like hour-long debates at sci-fi conventions, debating the motivations and the past of Wynn. And
Nice.
I think she's a brilliant character, but she's very intense, and yeah, I have strong opinions. So anyway, one of the things that I found hilariously annoying, mostly hilarious because it was Bryle, was the fact that, like, first of all, they're, in theory, him and Kira are a couple. In theory. They're making us try to believe that. And then even Kira, she's just like, oh, wait, so you're just here to manipulate, you're just here to play me and to look good so you can advance your political career. And then that helps Wynn's argument when she basically is like, yeah, he's just here for this, and so you should probably, he's not exactly on the up and up. But at the same time, like, if they were a legitimate couple, it's called communication. And if Kira was to just go talk to him, and if they actually trusted each other, he could just be like, look, here's the situation. And maybe he's trying to save Kira's feelings, but at the same time, Kira's had her own journey with Opaka that Bryle's been in the front seat for, so he should be able to have that conversation for it. But, yeah, and I, like, even if she didn't already know about Opaka doing something like that, I think that she knew now enough about Kai Opaka that she could reconcile that. Like, that wouldn't be a shattering, she's already had that moment with her. So anyway, I feel like it's like most like what Reddit relationships post. These could all be solved if we just communicated with each other.
Well, their relationship never made sense to me in the first place. They have zero chemistry, and he is smarmy. So, like, I mean, I don't have any problem believing that they didn't and wouldn't talk about it.
Right.
He's just like, he's like an Eeyore power grabber. Like, he's so like, oh darn, I didn't get the thing, like,
Eeyore power grabber. That's awesome.
But he's also like just some dude that wants the position. Like, yeah. He's just boring.
Yeah.
I mean,
there you go. The two modes, wooden and lecherous. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. I don't know. But so it turns out that, so he was just covering for her. So he didn't actually do anything.
Right.
And so now I'm like, is Kira gonna just like want to be with him again? Like, are they gonna, I'm like, why? No.
I know.
So many.
Astro has won the chat with the Reddit title, "Am I the asshole if I don't tell my girlfriend I want to be Kai?"
You win, sir.
That one. That was fabulous. Yeah, I think that, so he did know. I think part of it too, I mean, to kind of make the other argument is that, the fact, so I do feel like Kira would be shattered not by learning that that's what Opaka did, but by the fact that Brile knew and she didn't. Yeah. I feel like she thought that she was a lot closer to Opaka than she maybe was. Mm-hmm. And so that would probably be more disillusioning for Kira than just finding out about the actions themselves, maybe. But yeah, I mean, the interesting thing for me, and we've got to move on to the next episode, but the interesting thing for me is the fact that, like, the specter of Kai Opaka, who in this show died like almost 2 seasons ago, like a season and a half ago.
Like an episode in or something.
Yeah, like the fact that her character still lingers as a specter over the Bajoran religion, I just find incredibly fascinating and well done. So yeah, exactly.
Yeah, her hold over those aspects seems incredibly strong. And
the fact that
it's fascinating.
The Bajoran religious leaders still don't have a guy. Like, she must have just been so good at her job that they were just like, okay, well, we'll just get up to whatever nonsense we're getting up to here and have no plan for succession because she's got it and she'll be around for a while. And it's like, oops.
Yeah.
Oh, it's interesting. But any other thoughts on this one?
No, I don't think so.
All right. Excellent. So the next episode is Tribunal. This is an O'Brien Must Suffer episode. Nope, not that episode. Nope, not that episode. Another O'Brien Must Suffer episode. O'Brien is convicted and accused at a tribunal. Nope, not that one episode you're thinking of. It's the other one where the legal status is determined before the trial even begins. He basically gets captured and he gets accused of trying to smuggle weapons to the Maquis, and he's accused by the Cardassians, who basically say that, all right, so your trial's, it's essentially your trial's at noon and you'll be beheaded at 2:00. And they're like, what? Mm-hmm. Like, yeah, you're. This is just a show. This is how we do our things. We already know you're guilty, so, yeah. So, so what'd you think of this one?
The second episode I watched after the debates.
Yeah, right.
And oh god, just another trial episode. I've determined these are not my favorite Star Trek tropes, just because they're they're usually just so dramatic and hard to watch.
Yeah.
And this, I mean, God, yeah, just O'Brien suffering, and you kind of get like the Cardassian. If this is their judicial system, it kind of makes sense,
Right.
like who they are.
Yeah. Yeah. It really does. I think it gives us a great insight into Cardassian society, for better or worse. We know more about how they function.
Exactly. Yeah. And it was like, well, boy.
Yeah. And I'm glad that you brought up the, hey, Uncle Bill, the defense attorney aspect, because I had a note in this too that is so his name is Kovat, is a little too close to home, in the sense that he's just like, this is my job. I just want to retire. I don't want to piss people off. Like, just let me do my job. It's not this urgency to fight for your client and to do everything you can to get them free. It's like, let's just make it as painless as possible.
Right. Well, and his job isn't even to get him free. His job is just to stand there as a figurehead and say like puppet things for just until it's like over. He's like, I'm not here to save you. Yeah. I'm here to help you accept the fact that you're gonna die.
Right.
And because you're guilty. And he's like, right. O'Brien's there like, no, I'm not. Like, this is ridiculous.
Yeah. And I think that is such a reflection on our judicial system in a not good way. You know? Like, I think it is one of those where it's like, let's just put up a mirror to the extremes of where our judicial system sometimes goes. And it's pretty rough. Yeah. Law and Order Cardassia would be a very short show. Well done.
Good one.
That's awesome.
Yeah. I don't know. And like the judge lady, I mean, it was literally like Umbridge. Like she was
right.
It's like they designed their judicial system based on the books of Umbridge. We're just gonna say things and break you down until you believe them,
right? And
believe that you are guilty, even though you know you're not. And
yeah, gaslighting 101. That's 100% what it is. I do really like that. I like even though alien trials were sent up brilliantly, by the way, in Lower Decks. We'll just appreciate that for a second. The whole drumhead mic drop. Favorite moment. Anyway, but I do like how they played this out in a way that the viewer also went on a bit of a journey, because we see this friend Raymond Boone on the station that O'Brien, meets, and they have, and then you see him being shady and having recorded O'Brien's voice, and you're like, okay, well, obviously this dude set O'Brien up. And then it becomes like a Columbo episode where you're essentially like, are they going to figure it out? How are they going to get him? How are they going to trap him?
Columbo. So right.
But then they play with us even more by realizing that Raymond Boone hasn't been around for a while, and that it is actually a Cardassian disguised as Raymond Boone to try to frame Starfleet to appear to be helping the Maquis. And layers.
Yeah, tons of layers, yeah. And like the Cardassians just, using what they can to manipulate Starfleet, which also makes me think like, damn, this treaty's not going to last. If the Cardassians are doing this kind of thing to try and undermine Starfleet, like, why did they sign it in the first place?
It's a really good point. That's a really good point. Andrew asked the question, would you rather be in a Cardassian court or a Klingon court? And I have to say, at least in a Klingon court, you can fight your way, even if you're not going to make it out.
Yeah, there's Klingon court hands down
after seeing how this nonsense goes. Yeah, it's a pretty good episode though. Like as far as trial episodes go,
it's good. It's up there. Yeah.
Yeah. And let me see if there are any other notes in there. No, I think that's pretty much that one.
I just liked how Raymond Boone seemed to be modeled after Tom Selleck.
100% Tom Selleck. Yes. Even when he shows up, I'm just like,
If we just jump into Magnum PI, like what?
He really is. That's our.
That's funny.
Yeah. That's awesome. I love it. Yeah, Astro, even going to Repente is better than death, and maybe there's a chance he'll escape. So, excellent point. As opposed to your beheading happens in 8 hours. All right, so the next episode, this is the one that we did a live watch party, so thank you to anyone who joined us for that, is the Gem Hedar. This is the season finale of Season 2 of Deep Space Nine. Brilliant episode. Beginning to end.
So good.
I love this episode. Just a quick summary. Sisko and Jake are doing a camping trip to the Gamma Quadrant, as one does. He has to do a science experiment, so he's going to bring Nog with him, and then Quark invites himself along too. Hilarity ensues that we will get into. Sisko and Quark basically get kidnapped by someone and they're being captured alongside this woman, Eris, that we now know as Vorta. She basically says that she's a prisoner being held by the Gem Hedar. The Gem Hedar are these like evil bad warriors, and that they are basically the enforcers of the Dominion. At the same time, DS9 is visited by the USS Odyssey and Captain Keogh. I'd never know how to say that. Keogh. Keogh. That they are going to, they're coming in to help defend. We have this Gem Hedar situation going on. And then, let me see, they realize that Eris's collar is a fake, that she's basically a spy for the Dominion. So now we have spies, now we have enforcers, and they all work at the behest of the founders, who are the leaders of the Dominion. So, brutal good episode. And Samantha, your expressions throughout were fabulous, but I would love to hear your thoughts on this episode throughout.
Yeah, so fun. Again, like top-notch choice, everybody, for watching live. So well done. Stakes are just getting higher.
Yeah.
But yeah, really everything happened in the last 3 minutes that was important to the wider plot of DS9. Yeah. Leading up to that, it was just like Quark and Nog camping, which was spectacular, and Jake and Sisko bonding, and like that was just so great. I mean, the episode really was a masterclass in like providing character development, providing comedic scenes, providing tons of information for the entire series, like setting up all of these different factions and who they're working for, and just like pretty spectacular episode in that regard.
It's a really good point. There's a lot here, but it's easy to watch and it doesn't feel dense. It doesn't feel weighed down. And the I feel like the comedy aspect of it is balanced so well. It doesn't feel inappropriate or out of place. It's legitimately funny. It's funny.
Oh, Quark is the best.
And brilliantly disarming for what happens in the last 3 minutes, you know?
Exactly.
Yeah. So let's go through some of our favorite funny parts of this. First of all, it's just Quark inviting himself onto the ship, and Sisko's basically like, "Oh, are you kidding me?" Like, I was supposed to have this father-son bonding time that I was really looking forward to, and now not only is my son's friend coming, now Quark is coming too.
Yeah.
So funny. So good.
Funny. And I just love how both Quark and Nog are kind of uncomfortable with the camping thing. Like they're just those everyone knows those people. If you like camping and you're there with someone who doesn't, like everyone acts the same way. It's like bugs in my food. I need sunscreen. I had this.
So good.
And then Jake and Nog, I totally forgot about that too. Like they have their own little adventure.
Yeah, which is also brilliant. So Sisko and Quark get kidnapped, basically. They get captured by the Gem Hedar. And They have a great. First of all, Quark scared is still the funniest thing in the world. His frightened pitch screaming is never not funny. One of my the best things. And then Nog and Jake trying to where they find out what happens, and it is really cute that they're trying to figure out how they're gonna get back. And I think someone, was it you, Samantha, that said in the chat that it was like Nog only knows how to fly a ship based on watching Star Trek? That it's like, computer, return to station, computer, fire all torpedoes, fire all phasers.
I think what I said is, this must be how I sound to my family when I try to describe Star Trek.
That was it. That was so funny.
And I think like I love how it seemed like they were trying to just do the Star Trek thing. Like Jake and Nog were like, well, my dad seems to say this, or it sounds like O'Brien says this sometimes, and maybe if we do this, it's like.
Yeah, where it was like they had to override the autopilot. And so they could get control of the ship. And so they rewire it. And then they're like, hooray, autopilot's disabled. And they're like, computer, return to station. I'm sorry, autopilot is disabled. Like,
Oh, so good.
So funny. So funny. And again, to Nog just losing his brain when they're getting attacked. And he's just like, shields up, fire torpedoes, fire our phasers. It's one of my favorite scenes in Deep Space Nine of all time. The meltdown was fabulous. Let me see. Oh, the other comedy thing that we were laughing about is a little bit darker, but it was still pretty funny, was when Captain Keo showed up from the Odyssey onto Deep Space Nine, and he's like, we're here to help you, and, because none of you have any combat experience. And they all kind of look around, and Bashir's like, but we fought the Maquis.
Bashir, it was just. He phrased it like a question too, like he wasn't really sure if that would convince them, but also not sure if it would count.
It was so funny, and he was like, everyone except for Dax and Kira, none of you have seen combat. But the serious side of that is I do feel like it portrayed very well how Starfleet views these Deep Space Nine missions, which they they mentioned sort of in the first season when Sisko shows up for this commission, and he's like, oh, I'm getting, kicked out, whatever. Mm-hmm. This is my retirement. They're pushing me to the outer side. And it's interesting.
Yeah, exactly. I think that small scene just really helped reinforce that mentality of there's the fancy Starfleet people in San Francisco who just don't think about Deep Space Nine. It's just like this, outpost that's trying to keep the treaty intact. So they're not doing a good job.
And that's all they think about it, though. It's literally just like, oh, that wormhole and that treaty. That's we got to go help Deep Space Nine again. Yeah, it's interesting. That one, that was a pretty good one. What other thoughts?
I mean, everything just happens so fast at the end.
Let's get into that. Yeah,
like the ship blows up, and it turns out it was a suicide mission. Which I was like, wait, rewind. Like, so basically the Admiral dude that shows up, or the Starfleet guy, they know about this threat, so they're trying to prove how big a threat it is by blowing themselves up?
So what happened is that they have sent, we'll call him Expendable Picard, to Deep Space Nine, to try to help with, these messages that they're getting that Deep Space Nine is dealing with the Maquis and that this Gem Hedar have showed up, and we had the Gem Hedar guy pop in with they're like, our shields are up, and he's like, yeah, they don't work on us. We have your captain, captive. Bye. And they're like, what just happened? So they're trying to figure out what's going on with this Gem Hedar, this threat from the Dominion, and then all the Maquis Cardassian stuff is going on. So they send in Expendable Picard with his big Galaxy-class ship, And so he's trying to come in and get a handle on the situation. And then we get the Gem Hedar ships coming through.
Right.
And as they were battling, the Odyssey, the expendable Enterprise, is holding its own until the Gem Hedar ship does a suicide run at the ship. So the Gem Hedar ship is the one that did the suicide run, but the ship was powerful enough, and the fact that it's like now they've learned that that's something the Gem Hedar aren't afraid to do, destroyed this shiny Galaxy class ship. So yeah, it wasn't a suicide mission necessarily. It wasn't a suicide mission for the Odyssey or Starfleet or anything. Okay. But yeah, it was.
That was. Yeah, I obviously made a misconnection there, and it was very confusing.
It would be. Yeah, that would be very confusing. Valid. So I hope we cleared that up.
Yes, we did.
Okay, good.
Thank you.
Awesome. Yeah, I find it really interesting. I think it's, and I think, we were talking about this because it'd been a long time since I'd seen this. So in the chat, I was like, when the Odyssey first shows up, I'm like, was this supposed to be the Enterprise? And then they just couldn't afford Patrick Stewart, or like, what, what did they do here? And everyone was like, just wait. And I was like, oh yeah, no, I remember.
I mean, it definitely looks like the Enterprise. So I guess I kind of like that little detail. For me, it's like, oh, there's models of starships that look the same.
Exactly. And for someone who doesn't pay as much attention to ship design, which, to the dismay of my partner, I'm not one of those people. I'm getting better because of the discussions that I've got into, but it's such a recognizable ship, and we've just spent 7 years on the Enterprise D with Picard and crew, that when you see this class of ship, the Galaxy class ship, you just see it and you're just like, oh, that's it. I see this one. And I think it's brilliant it doesn't take much reflection to realize that it's a very smart move on the writer's part, because setting Deep Space Nine in the space station without, this was a very controversial move for Star Trek fans, to have a show that took place at a space station without this ship that we felt like we were traveling alongside with. And there's no reference points for the fans. We don't know what's a big space station. We don't know what's a good space. We don't have these reference points. And so having the Odyssey show up and be almost exactly the Enterprise, we're like, oh, okay, that's our big ship. Dad's here to take care of us. Like, we'll be okay. We know that this is good. It can handle anything. We've seen this ship, similarly get through it all. And then
yeah,
not. So, ooh, Dave, that's a good point. This episode was less than a month in airtime after the finale of TNG. That's hardcore. That's hardcore. Because, I guess that was the end of season 7 of TNG and the end of season 2 of Deep Space Nine were the same. That's crazy. That is crazy. And then, I mean, you got the twist, which I think, I don't know if you said in the chat or that you didn't see coming.
No.
Yeah.
No, did not see that coming at all, which I love. I mean, twists are fun.
The fact that Eris was actually
with
the Dominion.
With the Dominion.
Yeah.
See, I don't want to say things because we've got Dominion, Gem Hedar, Maquis, I know, but the Dominion, Gem Hedar, and the Founders. So there's like 3 sort of
and
things.
The Vorta. So
yeah.
So you're okay. So and that's kind of what they introduced at the end of this episode, and the end of season 2. They say, okay, don't worry about the Maquis and the Cardassians and all that stuff. What we're dealing with in the Gamma Quadrant is this giant thing. It's like the Federation, but scary, that we've heard of, called the Dominion. Now, we've learned that the Gem Hedar is basically the bouncers, the enforcers, this like specially bred species to be the warriors for the Dominion. We know that the Vorta, the species that Eris is basically spies, representatives of the Dominion. Yeah, the representatives is probably a good phrase for it, that they're representatives of the Dominion. And they all work under the founders who run the Dominion. They're the leaders of the Dominion.
But I guess even after, we can probably move on to the search.
Yeah, we'll get into that
It's a good segue. But even after search part 2, I feel like you still don't know what the Dominion wants.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
Agreed.
Okay.
Yeah. No, that's an okay assessment for sure. We just know
Right.
that we know
there's
that
like
they're
so
bad.
many things like coming up that I'm just like, am I missing something? But no, okay, we still don't quite know, like.
No. It's this big, scary organization that we've run into a handful of times before all of this kicks off. That we know there's some, it's either like, we don't really know if they're capitalists or warriors or they're trying to control the galaxy or whatever it is. But yeah. And exactly, now you're seeing some of the Dominion that has only really been alluded to. So let's get into the first episode of season 3, the 2-parter, The Search. Which is a great episode, a great 2-part episode, and so much packed into this. I'll do the super quick summary. I'll break it into 1 and 2. We can talk about them separately quickly. But so part 1 basically says that they're trying to figure out what Deep Space Nine is going to do if the Dominion comes through the wormhole. They just know that the Dominion is big and scary. We've met the Gem Hedar. They have really good technology, and if they come through the wormhole, we're going to die. And then Sisko shows up and decloaks in the Defiant, and we lose our brain because the Defiant has entered the room. And then he comes, so part of being with the Defiant is it's the first ever Starfleet Federation deemed worthy cloaking ship. So we have a Romulan with us who is not Seska in disguise, just happens to be the same actress. Although you would not be opposed from thinking that Seska's in disguise again. And Lieutenant Commander Eddington, who, for spoilers, we will try to avoid discussing too much because there's a bit of a storyline with Eddington as well. But he basically forces Odo out. And then attacks happen. Dax and O'Brien are separated. Kira gets separated. Odo grabs her and lands on this planet in this nebula that he's been obsessed with. And for some reason, and finds a bunch of shapeshifters, changelings, his own kind, that say, "Welcome home, Odo." End of part 1.
Yeah, part 1 was a lot of like exposition and building up. I think part 2 is definitely the more interesting episode.
Yes.
I did not like Eddington. He was annoying.
Valid. What did you before we get, because you're right, it's fairly exposition heavy. What did you think of the reveal at the very end with Odo's shapeshifters?
I mean, it was kind of cool to see that they do have a place where their origin, they have an origin planet, and that, but like, at the same time, there's an enormous lake of Odo goo. Like, and he's been looking for them for how long?
His whole life.
And this planet is nearby? Like,
well, it's in the Gamma Quadrant.
Oh,
so,
okay.
Yes.
But at the same time, how is there no, well, I guess because they're the founders.
Yeah. Maybe
they don't have any information out there about them.
Yep.
And we don't know why they're the founders, really.
Yep.
So that, but it just seemed, at first it was like, wow, there is an enormous planet of shapeshifterness
goo
that Odo wasn't able to locate.
Yeah.
So that was just kind of funny to me, but I liked seeing that there were other Odo characters, although they're kind of nightmare fuel. Super
nightmare fuel. That woman will haunt your dreams. When she shows up, she haunts my dreams.
Honestly, Odo kind of haunts my dreams too. Like, I'm not a super fan of how the appearance is.
Gotcha. I'm curious how your relationship with Odo is going to evolve, because mine certainly did over watching Deep Space Nine. Rouge said Odo soup is also acceptable.
Definitely.
And let me see anything else. And yes, as Mohammed pointed out, it is the same actress and fairly similar costuming to The Chase. The episode in TNG where they go and find the singular person who said we seeded all of the humanoid species throughout the galaxy. That was the same actress. For some reason, she always reminds me of Glenn Close. Like, always reminds me of Glenn Close. But, nightmare fuel Glenn Close. Okay, so yeah, so then getting into part 2 then, we have Odo and Kira have landed on the planet in the Omarian Nebula, where they discover the homeworld. The female shapeshifter encourages him to take part in this great link. And Cisco learns that the Federation is negotiating a peace treaty with the Dominion, represented by one of the founders, and he's a Vorta named Baroth, which Laura, I missed saying in the chat, but Laura pointed out that one of the actors who played the Vorta referred to them as the middle management of the Dominion, and I think that that's probably the best way that we could describe them. So this Baroth is there to do this treaty, and then Cisco gets really upset that the Romulans were excluded from these peace talks, and the admirals don't listen to him. At the same time, Odo and Kira are like on this planet, and Odo's like effed off to be with this super creepy woman, and Kira's like by herself and finds this door and like tries to break into it, and then like Odo comes back and they finally break into the door, and they see our whole crew there who are part of a simulation that are trying to figure out how Starfleet would react to a treaty with the founders. So, what'd you think?
Oh man, yeah, that's basically what happened, and again, everything happened so quickly, and I guess Garrick died.
Well, no, Garrick. Okay, so to clarify, in the simulation Garrick sacrificed himself to get them out.
So he's not actually dead.
He's not actually dead.
Thank God.
I'm so sorry that
I saw your notes and I was like, wait, he did actually die?
My point was that when I'm watching this episode, I always forget. I think it's a blessing, not a curse, that I forget these details. I always forget that this is all a simulation. And so I'm sucked into it just as anyone watching it for the first time until Garrick basically says, all right, get out, leave me behind. I'll stay behind, and gets shot. And then I'm like, oh, right, it's all a simulation.
Okay. All right.
Anyways.
I made a stupid tweet then.
Sorry for the misleading.
Yeah. Well, okay. I guess that makes a bit more sense because it did happen so quickly. And
yeah,
like it just, no, that's not cool. But yeah, the ending, like with like learning that the Odo people are the founders was really an interesting reveal because, again, I don't get why. I don't get what they want. Like, because, I mean, they're anti-solid people, clearly, but yeah, I don't know. I'm very curious. I'm very curious to figure it out.
Yeah, I think your question and wondering about that is fair, and I will say you won't be disappointed. I think it's probably the best way. Like, it's not something that they just leave as this ambiguous motivation. I think you do start to get into it a little bit more, and it gets a lot more intense. And everyone is trying to make you feel better about the Garrick thing, so... And I take responsibility for that, for misleading in my in my notes. That I just can't accept that Garrick dies, and that's how I remember that it's a simulation. But yes, there is lots more Garrick goodness to come. And then Big D said Garrick's character is probably one of the best and most complex. Yeah, we love Garrick. We love Garrick. So
yeah, the other thing I loved about this episode was Cisco barging in on the Admiral and the other, what are they called again? Vorta, thank you.
Yeah, that's okay. I have a mental block against them too. Yeah. Against the name. That's okay, Vorta.
And being like, why aren't the Romulans included in this treaty? And what's going on? And she's just, I do not like her, this admiral.
Yeah, Nechayev, yeah, you're not
she's just like,
yeah,
like cool, like, go away now, Sisko. You do not need to be here, Sisko.
Well, and remember too, though, like, not in defense because she's one of those admirals, but like, Sisko's still a commander at this point. Like, he's not technically a captain yet. He's a 3-pip commander, and to barge in on an admiral's like sector galaxy-wide treaty negotiation is a little bit not cool.
Going off half-cocked, but he has good reason. I kind of like that he's trying to defend the Romulan presence there. Like, come on, guys. Like,
yeah, I don't disagree with him, especially after the Romulans gave them this technology. Like, that was a huge deal for the Romulans to give the Federation cloaking technology is a huge deal and needs to be respected. So yeah, sorry, I agree.
But yeah, I mean, again, we've talked about this many times, but the admirals, they're just not good people. It's like, what, you just become an admiral and then suddenly you're making weird deals and collaborating with people and like, yeah. I don't know. It's funny.
Yeah, it really is. It's crazy. It's pretty, but I like that it's a thing. You know, I like that it's a trope. Star Trek does
clearly is.
Yeah, they do a great job of that. And it's, I think too, like, I mean, we could talk for days about Garak, but like, I like the fact that Sisko kind of has recognized that Garak became disillusioned with the Cardassians in possibly the same way that Sisko is frustrated and disillusioned with the Federation and goes to him to kind of commiserate. Like, of all people, he goes to Garak to just be like, I don't know what to do about this. And for some reason, he feels that Garak gets it. Yeah. And without knowing the details of his past, he just has that instinct, and I think is correct. And I really like that. So,
totally.
Yeah. And it was nice to see them actually bond a little bit too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. The phasing cloak, that would have been a good thing to see again. I agree. Yeah, so good. Him and Garak, I really like Sisko and Garak's relationship, but
yeah, I like seeing that slowly develop. And yeah, the fact that he is someone that Sisko seems like he trusts Garak to have these conversations, and because he knows he's gonna somewhat. I mean, he recognizes the similar, thought process, I guess.
Right. Exactly.
That he can relate to.
I'm just putting in our poll real quick before we leave.
Yay!
I'm going to leave out Equilibrium. We can only have 5 responses out of the 6 episodes, so it doesn't play in very well. So I just am going to choose one that I feel like people won't vote for. All right, so you'll just have a couple minutes to vote here. Everyone gets 1 vote on what we watch as a group this upcoming week, if we're able to do that. And you have 3 minutes, and you can go now. Excellent. The poll has begun. Yep. All right. Yeah, Meridian is not great either. So the poll should be live, so everyone can vote there. So D Starfire, we were mentioning the phasing cloak classified as super top secret because no, it was because of the violation of the treaty that the Federation has with the Romulans about developing cloaking technology. So that was that one. Sorry. Okay, so I don't have the summaries. Let me see. House of Quark, that's the one with Grilka. Second Skin is the one with Kira questioning who she is. I don't want to spoil it, but that was that one. The Abandoned, that's where Odo takes care of the kid. Civil defense, that's when the station turns against them. And then the Meridian, I feel like I remember, has to do with Jetsia. This is off the top of my head, so. That's right. Thanks, Muhammad. Dax falling in love with a stranger for no reason. There we go. We may. I'm going to see if we can get a special guest to come in for the House of Quark episode discussion, because that's a really good one. That's a great episode. Next week, not at our watch party, but
Okay.
yeah, no, there was, so the phasing cloak, yeah, it did also, that was the guy who was helping develop it. That was the one where he basically, it did kill wasn't it a Ferengi scientist that was testing it?
Yeah, see,
Yeah.
I kept thinking of this vaguely and vague things coming in like, wait, cloaking technology, like something, there was something in TNG that was like, they weren't supposed to do it or something.
Yeah.
I had vague recollections.
Yeah, that was that episode with Crusher, Beverly Crusher, leaving Starfleet.
Yeah.
For that project. Oh yeah, no, that was metaphasic shielding. Good lord, it all blurs together at some point. Oh yeah, that's right. See, we all remember. Collective chat brain. That's what we call it. Awesome. All right. So with that, now you found out that the changelings are the founders. I will say the last thing for this episode that we will be coming back to, but doing this rewatch made me realize that this is the first episode where I start to ship Kira and Odo. Pretty hardcore. That scene at the end.
Really?
Her looking out for him. She sees like that he's struggling, so she stays behind to make sure he transports off safely. And just that look that they kind of give each other right at the end. I was like, I see it. So if it's a slow burn, I get that. But if you don't see it yet, I get it. But I still, yeah.
I have to say I don't see it or want it necessarily.
That's okay.
But we'll return to that, I guess.
Awesome. So the winner of the poll is House of Quark. So that is a good one. So we will try to organize a watch party probably earlier in this week so we have enough time to watch all the episodes, but we will post on our various Twitters when that will be happening, but it'll probably be around 5 p.m. Pacific time, one of the days this week. So any final thoughts, Samantha?
No, I don't think so. Such a good set.
We're in the throes now. The Defiant has showed up. The Gem Hedar, the Founders, the Dominion. It's all happening.
So much.
All right, awesome. Well, thank you everyone for hanging out with us, and we will be back some point this week to do a watch party. Regardless, you can find us again next week to talk about the next 6 episodes. So thank you all very much, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks, everyone.
All right, bye.